Hello and welcome to the Fighting Spirit Podcast. As always, I'm Jason and I'm here to bring you your fight picks for UFC Fight Night taking place in Beantown. Gonna have a brawl in the Back Bay of Boston. Gonna be a great contest here in our main event. We have former 185-pound champion Chris the All-American Weidman taking on a great up-and-comer at light heavyweight in Dominic Reyes. He's in an amazing streak right now. He's an undefeated fighter. It's going to be amazing. We also have a fight that didn't take place in Mexico. Yair Rodriguez, Jeremy Stevens. That one's going to be a brawl too. Amazing card. Greg Hardy's on it. Let's get into it. Here's the show. All right, so in our main event, as I said earlier, Dominic Reyes, the Devastator, Dominic Reyes, is going to be taking on the All-American Chris Weidman, and this is a tough fight to call. I go back and forth on this one because the numbers are pretty much split down the middle. I got a couple different metrics here, and you might be a little surprised because he's not doing so hot lately. As a clue, I got Chris Weidman in this one, so Chris Weidman is on a tough streak at the moment, right? He beat, Vitor Belfort and Kelvin Gastelum in his last two outings. So we got to go all the way back to 2015 to take on Vitor, and we got to go back to 2017 for his fight against Gastelum. However, he's been knocked out by Ronaldo Souza, a guy that's not renowned for his striking. Obviously, Gegard Mousasi hasn't fought in the UFC in some time. He's a Bellator guy now. Yoel Romero, and then, of course, his loss to Luke Rockhold. These are some tough losses for the 185-pound former champion Chris Weidman. He obviously had those amazing wins against Anderson Silva, but can he do it at 205? And you know what? I think he can. I don't know, and this goes back to what we talked about last week. I don't know if his button is a weight cut at this point in his life. He's 35 years of age. He's a pretty big boy, right? So we got Reyes. He's 6'4". He fights at 205. Weidman's 6'2", fighting at what used to be 185. So 20-pound difference. Is that going to help his brain maintain its maintain its fluid and maintain its protection if he gets hit? It's a really hard gamble here. Is he going to be like Vic? Does he have a button? I don't know. Ronaldo Souza could have maybe exposed that button. It's hard to say. Here's the thing, though. If Weidman's chin is still there, the dude is a very tough contest. But he has to be able to take a shot, and that might be difficult going up against a guy like the Devastator Dominic Reyes. His last knockout was against Jared Cannonier, and we just saw what Cannonier did to Jack Hermanson. Granted, this was, over a year ago. I think Cannonier's got better, but, he's fought some great competition. Ovince St. Preux, decision victory, and a split decision over Volkan Ozdemir. So the guy has fought good competition, but as I look down through his contests, what don't I see? A Olympic or at least collegiate Division I wrestling athlete in that list. Nobody has the wrestling credentials in Dominic Reyes' resume. He hasn't fought a guy that can execute a single or double leg takedown like anybody else in the business and slap on an amazing jiu-jitsu, taught to him from the Serra-Longo camp, and, amazing ground and pound. I think that as long as Chris Weidman's chin holds up, he's going to be able to be king of the grind here, and he's going to be able to pull off an upset victory. But the whole thing is riding on that chin. And I don't have a metric, I don't have a number that represents a guy's chin. That's an intangible. You never can understand what a guy's chin is going to do. And this is a very interesting, fight for that reason. Chin's there, I got Weidman all day. Chin's not there, we're going to find out very early, and I'm going to be wrong, and I'll admit, me being wrong, but hey, it's all on that chin. The chin is how the night goes. It's there, Weidman grinds his way to victory. I have no doubt about it. I think he's going to do it. Dominic Reyes, though, pretty good power puncher. He has some submissions. Don't see him grappling, though. Don't see it happening. But does have that power. And that could be felt by Weidman in this contest. So it is going to be very interesting. We'll see how it plays out. From a pure reach perspective, Weidman actually has the lankier arms here. So by 1 inch, he can stay a little bit further away, maybe stay out of that power, maybe get it done. We shall see. Ultimately, though, in Beantown, got to go with the All-American, got to go with the former champ. We're picking up the All-American Chris Weidman in this contest. All right, so our next fight is a little bit of a gift for the fans that will be attending this UFC event in Boston, because this was the main event that really didn't take place. So if you guys don't remember, a few weeks back, fight in Mexico City, Jeremy Stephens, Yair Rodriguez, going to headline that. And Yair just kind of rakes him across the eyes. They give Jeremy Stephens all the time that they can allow per the rules, I think up to 5 minutes, and his eye just can't open up. The thing is shaking, it's, contracting, it won't open up. They can't force it open even. And so Stephens just can't continue. Doctor waves it off, Herb Dean waves it off, and the fans are pissed. Yair's pissed, everybody's angry. But this thing is now going to take place in Boston. So, gotta, turn up for that one. It's going to be amazing. Let's talk about it, though. Every metric I have says that Yair's going to win. Every metric. Every metric previously said Yair was going to win. And I think that's because of Jeremy Stephens' style. So, much like I talked about the chin kind of being there or not being there, Stephens' style is either there and going to put you out, or he's going to have a hard time connecting. So, when you look at Stephens, right, he fights Zabit, he wants to plant and throw a power shot. Plant, throw a power shot. The way he gets you, especially if you get on the cage and don't have any escape routes, he's going to put you out. That's guys like, Tim Elliott? Josh Emmett. Tim Elliott lost last week. Last guys like Josh Emmett, he fractured his face, right? But if you stay elusive, you're a Zabit, you're Jose Aldo, who has, very, technical striking. I think you can get it done. Now, what does Yair have, though, that, some of these other guys like Emmett didn't have, but guys like Zabit do? It's being elusive. It's being technical. It's having a game plan that you can execute and stay off the cage and always keep an escape route. And I think Yair has that. When he fought Korean Zombie marches forward, comes right down the pipe, and I thought Yair looked okay in that contest. Granted, he was losing up until that up elbow, but he still looked good. He was able to hang with Zombie. Would he have lost that fight ultimately? Maybe. Maybe on the scorecard. But, it didn't play out that way. He picks up a W. And I think he can pick up a W here against Jeremy Stephens. Now, all that being said, Stephens is coming in to take a man's head off. He's angry about the way things went down. He wants a W here, especially after the bullshit that happened to him over in Mexico. Fans throwing shit in the ring, all that. Just bad look for the business, right? I think he's looking to take this guy's head clean the F off and pick up a KO 50 G's baby moment by knocking this dude's head off. Can he do it? Absolutely. But it's going to be, can Yair stay elusive? Can he get in and out of the pocket? Can he always give himself an escape route? I think he can, but let's just bear in mind here that Stephens has been training with Tony Ferguson. I think he's back over there again. They're at Big Bear. They're getting dirty. They're having some Rocky IV moments out there. And that's an intangible that I cannot factor. I don't know if anybody can. I gave him his Alliance background. He definitely trains at the better gym, but he ain't winning on the numbers. If I would have to personally bet on this fight, I would just steer clear. I would not touch this one with a 10-foot pole. Sure, I'm picking Yair, and if he wins, I'll take the W. But from a pure gambling perspective, I wouldn't touch it. My heart says Stephens. My brain says Yair. We'll see how it plays out in Boston. I'm going to pick Yair, though. In the next contest, this time with the biggest bad boys out there, we're going to be having a heavyweight matchup. Greg Hardy, the Prince of War, is going to be taking on Ben Sosoli. Siki, he's from Australia. He's a big dude, too. He's a 6 foot, 260 pounds, so big boy himself, right? Mark Hunt looks like a physique, so to speak. Now, just a commentary on Greg Hardy. For me, personally, is the guy, the kind of dude that you want to maybe associate with, hang around with. Maybe not. He's he's got kind of a bad rap sheet, and but I think people can change. I think they can improve themselves, and I don't think Greg Hardy is a bad guy at this point. He had a lot of bullshit in his life, and I think he's overcome it. And I personally like Greg Hardy. I like his brand of violence. I love his brand of caliber athlete in the UFC. I think it's good for the business, and I think that Greg Hardy is going to put it on showcase here and show why he's one of the baddest men at heavyweight. He is looking at the point where he's only 5-1. He's coming up in the UFC. He's basically having his his amateur career, regional career taking place in the UFC. He had a couple of Dana White Contender Series, came back, he went to a regional circuit, and now he's back here. He does technically have one loss on his record to Alan Crowder, but Alan Crowder could have been turned on the tide, but it was an illegal knee, and he ended up picking up a disqualification loss on that one. But ultimately, I think he's going to pick up another win here. Beat Juan Adams pretty handily, a guy that I thought could have actually challenged Greg Hardy, and he didn't. And I don't think Ben's going to give him any kind of problem either. I think Hardy's going to go out there. He's going to show that the NFL caliber explosiveness that an athlete like him has. And he's going to put Ben down early and hard. Now, will that kind of, as I think Brendan Schaub is called, will that cheat code of athleticism take him to the championship ranks? You run into the real badasses of the world, your Francis Ngannou's. I don't know if he can rely on that cheat code for long, but he can right now, I think, hit it all day and take out these guys at the lower echelons and claw his way up to a ranked position. I don't think Ben has much to offer this guy. Yeah, he does hit hard himself, 6 knockouts over 7 wins, but I don't think he's going to have anything to offer the Prince of War. Picking up Greg Hardy all day, it's probably lock of the card on that one. All right, so our next one is going to take place at ladies flyweight. We're going to have Macy, the future Barber, take on, I think, a pretty big Canadian MMA star herself, Jillian Robertson, in what should be a very good contest. So at flyweight, we always got Valentina at the top, and she's probably going to be there for a while, but these are the kind of fighters that could come up potentially and try to steal that crown. So right now we're looking at Jillian Robertson, who's basically coming into her own in her last couple outings, right? So she took a loss back in September 22nd, 2018, and she looked great from, here there on out. She's gotten 2 shut-the-door victories. She got a rear naked choke over Veronica Macedo, and against Sarah Frota, she put it on for the fans in Canada when she was on that Holloway Edgar card at UFC 240. She put it on for them. She showed, why women's MMA is interesting and fun to watch. But Macy Barber is looking good too. So look at what what J.J. Aldrich did last week to Warren Mueller, right? Smacked her around. She TKO'd her back in March. She TKO'd Hannah Cephas. She TKO'd Jamie Collins on Dana White's Contender Series. Let's go back even further. What did she do to exit the LFA regional scene? TKO. What did she do before that? Submission. And I got to go all the way back in her short career. This woman, Macy Barber, 21 years old. I had to go back to September 8th, 2017 to get her last decision victory. There's no place that she has a weakness in right now. Okay, when she was in her late teens, she looked like a superstar. Now that she's in her early 20s, she still looks like a superstar. And I think that she's going to be able to get it done against Jillian Robertson. Does Jillian Robertson train at the better gym? Absolutely. She trains over an American Top Team. However, she has only looked amazing recently. I don't think she's going to be able to hang with a fighter like Macy Barber. I think Macy Barber is very well-rounded for her age. I think she has more experience than her age lets on. And I think that she could be the future of this division. I think that she could be the future winner in Boston. So we are picking Macy, the future Barber, in this contest. In another contest at middleweight, we're going to have Daron Wynn take on Darren the Dentist Stuart. Just awesome fight name. Usually think of hockey players, right? But awesome fight name for Darren Stewart. So Darren Stewart, kind of a middleweight contender. some wins, some losses, right? He's bounced around, beating guys like Bermudez and Charles Barber, lost Edmund Shabazian, via split decision. He's bounced around. But then I look over at Deron Winn, and this guy's looking pretty good, pretty tasty right now as far as MMA goes. He's bounced around, and I think he's found a home in the UFC, right? So he was on the regional circuit scene back in 2017. Then he gets onto the Bellator card. He gets onto the Golden Boy, Liddell Ortiz 3 card, fights Tom Lawler. Tom Lawler, and the former UFC veteran and certainly a good fighter. Maybe not quite the caliber in the Dentist, but I think he's looking pretty good. He trains over at AKA. He's getting a lot of exposure to high-level athletes, especially wrestlers, Dagestanis. Getting high-level exposure to Javier's amazing kickbox credentials. And I think he's got the skills to pay the bills here. I really do. The guy's looking phenomenal. He's undefeated. He's making a statement for himself. He's bounced around to, different promotions. I think he understands what it is to, not have a home, to be a nomad. And I think he wants to make a statement here. I think he wants to show on a card with Chris Weidman, former 185er, the 185 division is moving on. There's going to be guys like him taking it over. And I think that he could pick up his first knockout in the UFC here. Both of these guys swing hard. Okay? Neither one of them have a submission to their names. They're not big takedown heavy guys, although I think Deron Winn might actually score one to kind of upset Stuart's feet a little bit, try to make him think a bit about that double or single leg. But I think Deron Winn's going to pick up a win here. And I think it's going to be via TKO or KO in the first or second round. These guys swing free. They're going to get in and out of the pocket. And they're going to see who the bigger, badder man is in the middle of the octagon. Ultimately, picking Deron Winn to pick up a win here. It's in the name, right? A win. In a featherweight contest we have coming up, we have Manny, the Bermudez, Triangle Bermudez, taking on Charles Rosa, Boston Strong. So both these guys are from Massachusetts. We got Boston Strong here, Charles Rosa from Peabody, and we got Manny Bermudez from Abington, Massachusetts. So both fairly local guys. Granted, though, Bermudez still gets his training in the Boston area down in South Shore Sport Fighting, and Rosa goes for that top-level training at American Top Team. And I think that that's going to be a pathway to victory for him. I think he's got better training. Also, we got Bermudez listed here as a bantamweight coming up to feather, and I don't know if it's going to be a great showcase for him. So he's coming off a loss. He did lose to Casey Kenny in his last outing, and I know that Rosa took a loss, to Shane Burgos, but I think he's going to come back here. I think, and this was back in 2017, I think he's a guy that's sat in the sidelines for a while, that now wants to pick up a win, get back into fighting, get back into the sport. He's probably been frustrated by other things going on in his life that has kept him out of the limelight. And I think he's going to make a case for himself to step back in here, and I think he's going to pick up a W. He's got the better training. I think he's got the better skill set, and I also like his size advantage here. Bermudez, 5'6", used to fight a bantam, perfect size for bantam. Coming up to feather, where guys like Rosa, guys like Holloway, they're huge at 145 pounds. And I think it's going to be a lot for a guy like Bermudez to deal with, especially being a grappler. Rosa's also a grappler. That size is going to be tough unless he's got a really, really awesome skill set. Could he pick up a first-round submission? Possibly, before they get sweaty. But as this fight goes on, I think it's going to start erring on the side of the stronger man. I think it's going to be a lot of top control out of Rosa. I think he's going to be able to hold them down. And I think he might even dice him up on the feet a little bit. We know Manny Bermudez's best talents are not when he keeps the fight standing. It's when he gets it to the ground. When it's 11 submissions or 14 wins. Not that Rosa, doesn't have a fair set of submission victories himself. We've just seen him get it done a little more often on the feet if he can. He's willing to throw, and I think that's a key to victory here. So ultimately, I am picking Boston Strong Rosa in Beantown. We got some more hometowners fighting on this card. We got Kyle Bochniak fighting out of Gloucester, Massachusetts, taking on Sean Woodson, who is an outsider, fights out of St. Louis. Doesn't even really have a well-known gym. Don't really have much information here. But he's coming off a really good win over the Dana White Contender Series. And we know Bochniak's had a little bit of trouble recently. Split loss to Hakeem Dawodu. And obviously, unanimous decision loss to Zabit, but the guy brings it. And this is going to be an interesting fight, and this is one that I probably would not bet on. So we know the way that Bochniak lost to Zabit. I mean, he was throwing hands at the end. Even though he lost the fight, he was put Zabit on the cage, and he was like, we're going now, and you're not getting away from me. And that kind of attitude, can be devastating both ways in MMA. You start swinging free like that, yeah, you might connect. You also might get hit yourself on a counter, and you might go nunites at that point. So this is a really difficult fight to call. So we got an explosive fighter, Sean Woodson, coming off a flying knee victory in the Dana White Contender Series, a guy that has 2 KOs over his 6 wins. Same for Bochniak, though, 2 KOs over his 8 wins. When we look at these guys, I think they're fairly similar. But I ultimately got to go with Woodson here. We haven't seen a great career in the UFC out of Bochniak at this point, and he's a little bit hit and miss. He's fun to watch, and I think these guys will ultimately be fun, throwing hands and going for it. But I'm going to side with Woodson here, undefeated fighter, and that's who I got to go with. I just think Bochniak sometimes lays it a little too much on the line and puts himself in bad spots. He also has a hard time reaching evasive fighters, and I don't know enough about Woodson to really say if he's going to be totally evasive, but I would steer clear of this one on betting. However, ultimately, we've got to make a pick, and I'm picking the Warrior Woodson in this one. Another matchup with a couple of fairly green fighters. We got Boston Boom Boom Salmon. I love that name. It makes me think of Ray Boom Boom Mancini from the 80s boxing scene. I do love that name. But we have him taking on Randy Kosta. He fights out of Taunton, Massachusetts, over at Lauzon MMA. In fact, Joe Lauzon is on this card as well. And I think this one's going to be a fun contest of 2 kind of greenish guys. Ultimately, in this one, though, I'm going to go with the hometowner, not the guy named after the city. And I'm picking up Randy Kosta in this one. So he doesn't have a whole lot of experience. I mean, honestly, neither guy really does. They're both coming off of losses in their UFC debuts. We had Salmon losing via KO or TKO in the first round, and we had Randy Kosta here losing via rear naked choke to Brandon Davis in his UFC debut as well. So both these guys looking to avenge losses here. Not a lot of data to go off of, but ultimately the data I like more is going to be Randy Kosta on this one. I think he's going to be able to pick up a win fighting out of Lauzon MMA. Very close gym to honestly where I live, and so I'm going to go with them. To be perfectly honest, I think he can pick up a victory in this one. Which does make me realize that I did skip a fight. I forgot to talk about Joe Lauzon taking on Jonathan Pierce. So in this one, Joe Lauzon, great veteran of the sport, the kind of guy you can absolutely always count on to give you one hell of a performance. Lay it on out there. Submit guys like crazy. 17 submissions over 27 wins, 8 knockouts. I love Joe Lauzon. He's always been kind of a top contender, but never a guy that could really get to the big dance. And right now, he's looking on the slide, and I got to ultimately side with Jonathan Pierce because of that. His nature of, win-loss has turned into 3 straight losses. He's been coming off win-losses back-to-back. He hasn't been able to chain 2 together since 2013 into 2014. Then he lost to Ali Quinta, then he picks a win against Gomi, lost to Evan Dunham, win over Diego Sanchez, lost to Miller, and so on and so forth. But his 3 straight losses, especially 2 of them via TKO, and we got a heavy hands guy, Jonathan Pierce. Maybe he hasn't fought a guy quite like Joe Lauzon at this point in his career, but he just looks like a murderous puncher. He's fought Bellator, he's fought in Dana White Contender Series. He's fought some good competition. He's had a set of losses. He had 3 straight losses himself, 2016 to 2017, but he's gotten it together. He's put himself in a good mindset. He's getting wins. He's now on the big stage. He's already won in the big stage too at Bellator. I think he's a guy that can, put another L in Joe Lauzon's record. And I don't want to say it. I like Lauzon, local guy to me, but I got to pick against him in this one. We got his kid, one of his, I guess, he probably looks at him as like his kid and young guy he's training, in Randy Kosta, but I cannot pick him in his own fight. We're ultimately going to go with Jonathan Pierce in Boston. Which takes us to our last contest on the evening. So we're going to have Brandon Allen, Allen, take on Kevin Holland, the Trailblazer. And this is a really good fight. This is like a fight fans fight. So Brandon Allen trains out of Rufus-Sport, and he has some pretty good hands. He gets pretty good submissions, as does Kevin Holland, though. These guys are very similar fighters, except Allen is a little bit younger. This guy's 23, and he's 12-3. I mean, this dude fights. He's very young. He's grounded out on the regional circuit. He got a submission in Dana White Contender Series. He's looking hot right now. Hasn't had a loss since 2018. When I look over at Holland, kind of a similar story, right? He wins over Mircic, John Phillips, Alicio DeCircio, and he hasn't lost since, the murderous puncher of Thiago Santos. He looks good as well. This I think, is going to be a very high-level kickboxing match that could devolve potentially into a grappling affair. I don't know how this one is going to go. Both these guys have so many weapons and so many keys to victory, pathways, that I can't make an exact call on how it's going to play out. But I am going to pick Brendan Allen here. I think that he has a little bit better output. I think that his ground skills might be slightly better, and he's got that superior training. So I'm going to side with Allen here, but it's a right down the middle fight. It's very close, and it's really honestly too close to call. It's not like me talking about some of the other ones where we talked about, Greg Hardy or Macy Barber. This one I think is a very tough to call, and I'm ultimately going to go with Brendan Allen on this one. But I could definitely see it going either way, via KO, TKO, or submission, with Holland picking up the win. But we'll see how it plays out in Beantown. All right, let's go over them one more time. So these were only the fights that didn't include debuting bouts. There are some other ones out there. We're only going to go over these. So we have Weidman, Yair, Hardy, Pierce, Barber, Wynn, Rosa, Woodson, Kosta, and Allen. That rounds us out for the podcast. So I'm going to go ahead and check, see if we have any emails here, which we probably do not, but I'm going to go ahead and check anyways and go over our housekeeping. So, we can get in touch with the Fighting Spirit Podcast at fightingspiritpodcast@gmail.com. I don't have any emails this week. I'd love to have another email, though, so please write in if you are listening to this point. And we also have the Patreon, which is down in the description box below, and we're available on all your favorite podcast platforms of choice. So, as always, I'll be coming back with that retrospective, and we'll be going over our win-loss level. I am feeling good about these. These are basically in my home state. They're not too far away from me. I feel like I have the hometown edge coming into this, and I would love to run this table. The only pick that I have that I'm really, really worried about is Yair. That one, I'm like, I don't know. I think Steven's going to win, but it's tough to me to call. So I got Yair here because of the numbers, but ultimately, I don't know if I'd make that pick personally. It looks like Steven's going to take somebody's head off for poking him in the eye. So I would stay away from that. But hey, maybe he can turn that anger against him and pick up a counter punch, head kick or something. Or counter punch, head kick. You can pick up a great counter and get the win. So we'll see how it plays out. All right. So like I said, I'll be back soon with that retrospective. I'm also considering doing a whiskey review soon. And I keep talking about it. So I haven't quite found the time, but we'll get into that soon. And until I speak with you again, happy fight.